International Faculty Development Program and the training program on innovative teaching and learning pedagogies. Today's focus revolves around the captivating idea of experiential learning pedagogy. I am honored to introduce our distinguished guest for today, none other than the maestro in the field, Dr. Kunal Soni sir. We are immensely privileged to have him as a contributor to these intellectual endeavors. These collaborative effort is organized by the Synergy of World Innovators University, MKE Khandwala College, Research Foundation of India, in association with Paro University and Eklavya University, and is generously sponsored by various well-known organizations. Your active participation enriches these platforms, fostering a global exchange of ideas and methodologies. Before we go ahead, allow me the privilege of acquainting each and every one of you with the presence of Dr. Kunal Soni sir. We welcome you, sir. He is an
Thank you, madam.
esteemed associate professor of finance and accounting at the School of Management, GSSC University, Vadodara, with a rich academic background spanning 10 years and an additional 3 years of industrial experience. He holds a diverse set of qualifications, including a BBA and MBA in finance, a PhD in management, and various specialized diplomas. His contributions to the field are evident through 24 publications in widely recognized journals such as Scopus, ABDC, UGC Care, and Web of Science. Notably, he holds a patent under the Intellectual Property Rights Act 1970, recognized by the Government of India for his innovative work on techno-innovation and growth of the Indian share market. His academic excellence is emphasized by winning 3 Best sponsored by UGC and AICTE, acknowledged as the best faculty of management department at Paro Institute of Management. He has also been a sought after resource person and session chair at over 20 B schools, UGC, HRDC, and research institutes across India. As a dynamic educator, he imparts knowledge through training sessions on analytical software like SPSS, AMOS, Smart PLS, eViews, Advanced Excel, and R program. His commitment to continuous learning is demonstrated by his participation in over 20 faculty development programs organized by prestigious institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Visakhapatnam. Having presented 90 research papers at national and international conferences and conducting 17 seminars and workshops, he stands as a beacon of expertise and innovation in the realm of finance. Academic together extend a cordial welcome to the esteemed Dr. Kunal Soni sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, madam, for brief introduction. So let's begin. Just let me know the screen
Welcome,
sharing
sir.
is visible. Yeah,
No, sir, it's not visible.
it's process. It's process.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So fine. Thank you. Okay.
Yes,
So good evening, one and all.
it's
So the topic for
visible
today's
now.
discussion and
Good
based
evening,
on
sir.
themes that we all have it is innovative and teaching learning pedagogy. The second portion that I'm going to cover for today is experiential learning, right? So what is experiential learning? So that we need to understand. So experiential learning is more or less what I need to conclude over here is it's more often it's based on the experience. it's based on the experiment that we are doing on the specific things. And out of this experiment, what are the learning outcome that has been derived out of this experiment, right? So that is called experimental learning. So more or less, if I need to define this particular terminology in terms of experimental learning, so it is more of experiment, and the things that you are coming out in a real time scenario, what you experiment, what you observed, based on that you will get the live learning of the things, rather than involving yourself to be on a theoretical background, right? So this is called an experimental learnings. Right. So let's begin with the presentation. This is the flow of presentation that I'm going to cover in this particular presentation. So first of all, we will understand in detail what is the meaning of experiential learning. Then we will also see who has actually given this theory in a practical scenario. Then we will also see the different stages of experimental learnings that we all need to undergo, right, when we are going for any live subjects, or might be with the consideration of the requirements of the subjects. So this is called different stages of experimental learning. And the fourth one, the suggested method for the experimental learning, right? Which are the methods which is going to be applicable as a part of experimental learning, right? So these are the four major portions that I will cover in today's presentation. So let's begin. So before starting the definition, right, there is one Chinese proverb, right, that tell me and I will forget, right? Show me and I may remember, and involve me, I will understand. Right. So very important terminology if you understand in a very detailed or very micro level understanding. So tell me, I will forget. But if you tell me, I might forget. Show me, I may remember. Means the things which I have seen in terms of physically, I might remember in my future that yes, I have seen this particular things. But if you involve me in the process, I will actually understand how actually this process is going to be. Right. So when we are going with particular process, we will understand the scenario. We will understand the situation. It is more often, we can relate with the group study. We might have observed many of the students, right? We are going in a practical scenario in our education life. So we might have seen, or even we as a student, when we were in our college life, we also have undergone this process, and we always understand that when we are reading the things by our own, we might remember and we might forget something, right? Because this is the first time learning which we have not experienced earlier. But once we have read these particular things and we are recalling with our colleagues, friends before the exams, right? And when we share our thoughts, experience, and knowledge with each other, so it will enhance our knowledge, and at the same time, it will increase the more deep understanding about the particular subjects or the parameter. So this is very important Chinese proverb that it has been used, that if you undergo with the process, means if you try by yourself, if you experience something, you might have the chances that you will never forget in your life. This is called experiential learnings, right? And that's why there is a message from National Education Policy 2020. We all know that the government of India, right, the Modi government is more focused towards the skill education. The skill education means you do by yourself, you apply your knowledge, you apply your ability, right? And with that ability, you will gain, tremendous employment as much as you can deserve, right? So how this ability will come out? So this will come out with the experience, and that's why there is one pedagogy that must evolve to make education more experimental, right? Our education should not be now in a monotonous way. Time has changed. People are not interested in a bookish knowledge. We have to come out our education with live and experimental things, so that people will have more experience and more insightful things in a coming time period. It should be holistic, right? Means it covers all around development of the students. And we all understand that all around development of the students means students should have theoretical knowledge and as well as the practical backgrounds also. And if we have to develop practical background, we must teach them the live projects, live incidents, right? That's why it covers the holistic approach. It should integrated, right? It should integrated means it should not be restricted to one particular field or area, but it should cover overall aspects, right? Different parameters, different division, different areas, right? So it should be very integrated, right? It should not be confused with each other, right? So that is what it is called, integrated, right? It should not, bind themselves with one particular area, but it should be open for all, and it covers multidisciplinary approach, that is called integrated approach. Inquiry driven, yes. Many of the things we are learning, we are observing the things in a live practical cases, either case study, or if we are going with any experiment methods, then after we should have some inquiry. So inquiry will generate more knowledge than what has been already disseminated by the speakers, right? So yes, inquiry driven is must. Discovery oriented means, so students should allow to do the live experiment for the projects or the topic that they are learning, so that student have more practical approach should be developed among them, and they should have, the more focused oriented approach towards each other. So this is called discovery oriented. Then after, learner centric, right? So our education policy should be learner centric, means they should know what the learners required, what is the requirement of the students, what is the requirements of the market, and based on which the curriculum should be developed, and curriculum should be more focused on the experiment, right? Evolving aspect among the students. So this is called learner centric. Discussion based, yes, it should be discussion, it should be open stage. Participants should allow to speak upon their queries, questions, or they must allow to share their opinions among each other, right? It should be flexible and it should be enjoyable, right? So this is what the National Education Policy 2020 has been developed. The purpose of covering this particular slide in the presentation is because why we are learning experimental learnings, experimental teaching pedagogy as a part of our teaching learning methodology. So our National Education Policy 2020 is more focused towards the experimental and live learnings, right? And that's why we must give the priority to this particular aspect into our learnings, right? So what is experimental learning according to you, right? So we need to understand. So first of all, it involves the active participants of the audience. It should not be one way traffic, right? It should be come out from both the ends, right? From the speakers and the audience also. So it should have, synergy among the discussion. And out of this discussion, the knowledge sharing with each other will be going on. And that's how the participants will learn the things in a very precise and proper manner. It also takes into considerations the reflections, yes, what peoples are perceived among each other, right? So it also takes into consideration the reflections of this audience, what audience perceived. Like, we are teacher, we are teaching into the classes, right? So during the classes, when we have joined as a freshers, we might not have the ability to understand what students required from us, right? Or whether we don't have the quality to identify what we have disseminated to the students in terms of the concept, either they have understood or not, right? So we have very limited capacity to understand because we are not having the experience of this particular process. But the moment if you cover up 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years down the line, now you are in a position to decide what students perceived based on the knowledge that you are delivering to them. Are they interested? Are they understanding? They are not understanding? What is their expectations? Whether they want to learn today or not, right? So all sort of abilities that you will develop gradually on time. So this is, it's considered to be a reflections. Then after, it is also based on the problem, right? It is based on the problem what we have faced. So you have to define the problem that you have faced, and based on that you have to give the proper solution, right? So it is based on the problem that you have faced, and according to that you have to give the solution. accordingly we have to derive the solution. It takes into consideration of collaborations, right? So collaborative effort means students should give, or the employee should give the task that they have to do the activities in a collaborative manner, so that the different brains will work together. They will go with the live process into this particular aspect, and based on that, every people will come out with the new skills and talents of each other, and they will observe, and they will also implement in our life, right? So this is very important aspect, that it should be collaborative, and most importantly it is learning by doing. Very important aspect, that we are undergoing with the practical process that we have heard till now. But now, once we are going with the process, we are very much clear that how it's going to happen, right? Let's suppose I'm a management faculty, right? So I might be thinking how this road buildings has been done, how the Google image have been taken, how the government NHAI is deciding to, have the roads, the linking of different national highway, express highway, now right now the bullet train projects is also going on in Gujarat. So this is how the questions that might hitting on my mind. But the engineers who are going into this process, they are very much confident, and it is not a big deal, or it is not a big exclamatory for them that how it is going to happen, because they are doing it and they are going with the process. So once they are going with the process, it's not possible that you don't know about the process or you forget about the process, right? So most important for the experimental learning is, it is learning by doing. You do it and you will learn, right? So it is learning by doing. So there is one model which is given by Cobbs as an experimental learning cycle, right? So what he has given to us, so it's a round channel process, so it's a concrete and experience, right? So whatever experience that you are getting, it has come out from what you are doing it, right, and how you are doing it, right, and based on your experience. Then it should be active experimentation, and it should be reflective observation, right? Active experimentation in terms of testing your conclusions and develop a plan for actions, right? So active experimentation means you are undergoing the process, right? You don't know before going to the process how it is going to behave and what could be the outcomes of this particular process. But you have decided that I want to learn this particular things by having a live experimentations by going with this particular process. So you have gone through the active participation under this process. And at the same time, it should be reflective also, means once you have completed this active experimentation process, you also have observed certain outcomes of this particular experimentations, right? So these particular outcomes is considered to be a reflective observations, right? So you must have observed that what has been the outcomes of this particular process, and you also observe to yourself after going this particular process, am I improved with my efficiency and quality of the process or not? If yes, you will continue, and if no, you will always look for the scope of improvement, right? So this is an experimental, and that's why it is called abstract and conceptualizations, right? So which makes the sense of the experience and draw the conclusions, right? So you have to derive a sense of conclusions, and you have to make a sense of experience. So whatever active participation that you have undergone, and after the active participation, whatever the repercussions, outcomes, behavior that you have received out of the different process that you have undergone, you must have pursued something out of this experience. And these experience are considered to be a live and concrete experience for a lifetime, right? And that is why this, once you are going with the process, you will never forget, and it would be foundations of the learning. And that's why experimental learning is considered to be a foundations of all the bases, right? That's why in today's scenario, this learning is gaining much more importance rather than having a typical classrooms and going with the only theoretical aspects, right? So called experiential learning cycle. Then we have to see the cycles of experimental learnings. right? So how it is going to be and how it is going to work. So you have to experience, right? But how it going to start? First, you analyze particular situation, and it might raise the question in your mind that how it is going to happen, right? Why it is happening, right? So then you will try to find out the solutions, right? Or you will try to find out the reasons for happening, right? So this is called inferring, right? You will ask yourself why it is happening and what should be done based on the various theoretical models and other aspects which is important for the theory, and you will try to apply those theory whether it is working in a real scenario or not. This is called the applications of the theory, right? That's why it is called applying when you are going for inferring. Or if you want to analyze directly, and if you are successful in your observation, then you are ready to share your experience with the others, right? So this experience is going to be helpful for the coming generation, right? So once you apply your experimental, right, then you will experience something, right? Let's suppose I have never experienced to have my journey in the bullet train, right? And every Indians are waiting for the bullet trains, right? So right now the application of bullet train is not happening, so everybody has a question how it look like, how government will implement, what should be the route, what should be the rate, is it comfortable or not, what is the difference between the normal trains and bullet trains, right? So these are the much more questions that is coming out into your mind. And before, if I talk about 15 years 20 years back down, so India was not at all thinking about the bullet train, but now it is dream come true, right? So this is going to be based on the, you analyze the situation, you ask the questions, you apply the theory by developing the routes for bullet train, and now you have already incorporated bullet trains, so you have experienced the journey of bullet trains. And then after, you will try to share your experience with the IRCTC and to the local people of the India, and gradually people will come to know that yes, this is a bullet train and how this is the services and other luxuries that they are going to receive out of this bullet train journey, right? So this is called a complete process of experiencing and then deliver your thought power, and to deliver your expert comments for the betterment of the society. So this is what it's called experiential learnings. And now we will see the different methods for the experiential learning, right? So I hope many of us uh, are already using this kind of method somehow or other, right? Because we are from the different backgrounds, different parameters. So many methods will be applicable in one particular school of thoughts, and many other methods will be applicable to other school of thoughts. But here, the important aspect for all of us is we should understand how our target audience should be benefited from our learning, right? And from our right decisions of delivering our experience, right? So, and we accordingly, what we have perceived in our life, we should also guide our students in terms of what we already have it, and we should share our expert thoughts. And by providing various experimental methods to the student will have the meaningful insights about the various concept and the theory that they are undergoing, right? So we will see the methods of experimental learnings. So as you can see this on the screen, so I hope many of methods you know that, but yes, I'm also sure that many of the methods you don't know also, right? So here the important part is we should understand the meanings and importance of each of the methods, and accordingly we have to define, we have to define these methods into the real-time applications. Clear? So we have to see that our students and our target audience should be maximum benefited from our side, and we should also take into consideration uh, the importance of these particular aspects, and accordingly we have to undergo. So you can see this. The first method is filtering. The first method is says field trip, right? So field trip is considered to be an important aspect for all of us, Then after, it's a narrative. Then conducting experimentations, stimulations, games, storytelling, focused imagine, field observations, role playing, model building, and surveys. Right. So these are the most topmost, experimental learning methods that we all have undergone out of it. So field trips, narratives, we will see each of the methods one by one. So here, so we might take our students to the field trips, right? Let's suppose if I have to take one example over here, right now in Gujarat, the Vibrant Gujarat Summit 2024 is going on, right? So where the exhibitions of different technology, different companies, different schools, different sites have come out with their doms, and peoples are visiting over that. Many companies have make their advertisement over there, so student have the live experimentations of all these parameters, and they are undergoing with the different kinds of observation. So rather than telling them the story only, or making them teaching in a theoretical point of view, let takes the students for the curriculum that they have it in terms of practical scenario, right? So this is called a field trip, which is called a structure activity that will not occur in the classroom, but we must decide to go outside the classroom, right? So this is an activity of going outside classroom. Many of the management students have been given a task that you observe, you know the panwala or lari wala, those who are very famous in your area, so you might given a task that how he is dealing with the clients by sitting on the road, so this is called experimental learning. People will observe the things by going on live field, and then they will come out with an observation that these are the skills and talents that you require being an entrepreneur in food industry if you are going to deal with it. And this knowledge, believe me, will have more worth than the theoretical point of view that we are delivering to our students in the classrooms, right? And that's why it is considered to be a brief observational activities, right, that last among the people very long period of time, right? I still remember that I have been given one task because my campus was opposite to the Indian Institute of Management during my MBA time, and I have been given a task, in the HR lecture, that you have to observe the behavior of customer with the food seller who is sitting on the road, and the behavior of the people, you know while sitting on the restaurant. So these are the field observations that we have done it. So the conclusion of the study is that status matters, location matters, and people are same, but behavior might differ. Right. So that's why it has been concluded that people will always see the location and behavior, locations and the financial status that you have before delivering to their behavior or authority that you are having, right? How strong you are. So these kind of things are always going to observe when you are going for the field observation. And that's why this kind of observation will last in your mind for a lifetime even, right? So I know now, because I don't need to understand from the people that yes, people will give the importance to the money, right? Because I know that I have already undergone this particular situation and I have observed in a live manner before 15, 20 years down the line. So this is lifelong lesson for us. But yes, field trip, very important experimental learning, teaching pedagogy that everybody must undergo with this. So it is very clear about what to do. You know the purpose of conducting this particular study. So very important and very enjoyable activity that you all give to your students, and student will come out with very meaningful outcomes out of this particular activities. So rules and regulations have been already delivered to the students, as I have already mentioned. And once students come out, with their experiment, we always ask to your students that what is your observation, what is your feedback, so that student might share their opinion, student might share their observation, and then we should link our theory with the practical scenario, right? So this is very interesting learning methods, that is field trip. Then narratives. What is narratives? So it is kind of essay that we are telling to the students on particular situation or scenario based on the feelings of the person that we have it. You we are meeting, we as a audience are going into different seminar, and today you are also in FTP program. So narrative means I have shared my certain observation. So it completely depends upon the mood that I have it, the knowledge that I have it, and the domain from which I'm coming out, right? So but I have shared few important parts of my life learning based on the mood that I have it right now and the feeling that I perceive right now, right? So it always going to in that particular fashion. It's a detailed and to the point information that has been provided from the reader's perspective and proper sequence from the writer's perspective, right? So both the parties are clear what is to be needed, right? Because information has been provided from the leader's perspective and from the writer's perspective. And it depends upon the experience, usually from a story which covers the storytelling, that is character, setting, climates, and endings, right? So usually we are doing this particular practices of our classes. Usually this is happening in the literature classes, right? One story is there and student have been asked, who has done X, right? What is done by X, what is done by Y, what is the relation of X and Y? Do you think that X is more beneficial than Y is more harmful than X? So this kind of observations that you must undergo, because you have been provided all the information from the reader's perspective and writer's perspective. And it is an important criteria. The title should be attempted by the writers, right? Because the narrative and stories are always depends upon the appropriate title which is given by the authors. So yes, many of the things are going to be very clear when you are seeing the titles of this particular methods. So usually I'll not discuss much on this, but yes, as a part of the topic for today's FDP, I have just covered up. But many of you know that, and many literature faculties are also there, so they are much knowledgeable than me on this particular part. So that's the things that we are doing it. Then we have the experiments. So experiments means it's a trial and error method. Usually, science and technology students are much prone to do this because you can see in the picture that students are going into chemical factory, right, or chemical lab for the experiment. They are making certain chemical H2O. Certain I don't know much about it, but they have the formula, they have the combinations swapped for it, and the things that they have learned in the theoretical aspect, they are doing this in a live practical manner, right? If I know that one H2O of so they might experiment over there and will come to know. So this is called experiment method. Clear? So this is experience, and it also provide insight into cause and effect by demonstrating that the outcomes occur with the manipulations of the factors. So here it's a trial and error. We are making some combination of the things. So at the same time, we should also know that what should be the outcomes of the particular situation or parameter if I will make certain changes into particular situation. Right. So it is called a trial and error effect with the demonstrating of manipulation of factor. Right. Sometimes we experiment something and we are coming out with some meaningful solutions also, right? So experimentations is always going to be a useful parameters for all of us. Then simulations. So it controls the parameters of the universe and use it to achieve the desired results. What simulates, right? So stimulation means the image or the things that we have perceived after observing a particular scenario, right? So this is called simulations, right? So seeing and reading, this is a visual effect. Auditory, that is listening and speaking. And kinesthetic, that is touching and doing. We have six sub. So the first is it involves creating a model that represent a key aspect of the actual scenario and allows individual to interact with or various purpose such as training analysis or experimentations. And if we want to do the simulations, we have various methods to do the simulation: computer simulation, physical simulation, role playing, business simulation, and military simulation. Right? If I have to take an example of business simulations, so business simulations, many business games are available in terms of physical mode, or in a computer in a soft text manner, right? So students should understand the business, how the business is going to be, what are the parameters that we have to take into consideration while doing the business, and they will come to know what sort of things that they must take into consideration while doing the business, right? So various games, live practical scenario will be there, not on official mode, but yes, on some platform they are doing it, right? Which is not harmful for them in terms of any sort of financial loss. But yes, they must undergo with this kind of experimentations. That is called simulation, right? So simulating the situation in a real-time scenario, but you are not in a real-time scenario. Right. So it's a creation of one environment where you can put yourself in a real life scenario and have the experimentations of that particular field or area in which you want to take the, knowledge or the idea about the environment. So this is simulation. Gameplay. Yes, you can see this. Many games are available for the students to experiment the things, and they can also gain the knowledge also, right? So students can go out with this particular games. Many maths analytical games are nowadays available online. Many software agencies, are having this kind of particular facility, and they are also providing this kind of opportunities to the students that they can come out with the more analytical power and ability to do the things, and they can develop their skills according to the field and area in which they are studying, right? So this is considered to be a gameplay. So students should play different games according to the theme or area in which they perceived, and based on that they must have the different observations out of this particular games, and they are in a situation to come out with the concrete conclusions about the particular situation. So this is called a gameplay. Then storytelling, this is a usual practice which is going on, in every schools and colleges, or even in primary sections also, because students should not learn ABCD by their own, but the same techniques will be converted into storytelling, and make them aware about, A for apple and B for ball, if we remember our, primary time period. So we also have the more interest, because story needs, some purpose, and story carries some emotions, highlights, so based on that, we have to understand the importance of it, by looking at the various words, images, sounds, and other mediums of convey to a narratives, right? So student should have to undergo with this kind of mediums of learning, and this kind of mediums will create more importance, more interest among the students to learn the different aspect of their life, and it have the more acceptance among the students rather than just keeping them restrict by just having the theoretical outlook, right? And that's why it is a powerful and ancient form of communication that has been used across the culture and generations to share experiences, convey information, and evoke emotions. Right? So, story having all kind of emotions, like you are happy, you are sad, you are not feeling good. Right? So all kinds of emotions will be conveyed through the story, and that is why it is a powerful tool to do this kind of activities. Right? So students should understand this. Then focused imagine. So focused imaging means this method involves guiding learners to create mental image related to the subject matters being taught. We have to create, hypothetical situations, in front of us, that what we are thinking, so one is the situation that we are stuck up in some area, as you can see in the image. And on the other side, we also have to think what I'm thinking right now. But if I'll think on this way, what could be the possible solutions or what could be the possible outcomes that I will derive in the future for my better experiment, for my better learning, and for my better prospects. Right. So you have the imagination in your life and you have the power to bring out some meaningful solutions or meaningful conclusion about the particular situations where you are facing the problems. Right. So very important in our personal life also to come out with the meaningful solutions out of this stressful life. If you have the focused imagination, then you can provide a meaningful solution for your own self. Right. So we have to give more importance on this. And believe me, this is more of a meditation. If you have a mental capability, mental power, then you are more prone to get more benefits out of this focused imagination. Right. And that's why it has a power of imagination and visualization to enhance the learning experience. Right. So it will enhance your experience in terms of more practical learning and more solution based learning. Right. Which is we all are looking for in our personal life as well. Then we have the field observations. So field observation is a research method where a researcher directly observes and record behaviors, events, or phenomena in a natural setting. Right. So as I told you that I have been, assigned one task by our faculty to, see the behavior of people while while having a food on a street and by having a food in a restaurant. So I have observed that people will always respect the location and the environment where they are sitting. So I have seen in a live and practical scenario rather than believing on what others are saying and what the theories are saying, what authors are saying. But this is my practical observations that I have been come out. And apart from that, field observations. So we all are undergoing with the many of the surveys in terms of consumer behavior, corporate behaviors, right? So this is not a new things for all of us. We conduct a survey, or this is a qualitative phenomena that where you can conduct the interviews of your target audience for the things that you are looking for as a part of solution. So if you conduct an interview, then it will have the meaningful solutions for this particular aspect. And that's why this method is commonly used in a social science, anthropology, ecology, and education to gather a qualitative data about a particular environment or a group of individuals, right? So it is more of a qualitative things. Role playing. So student act out character playing in particular situations. So student have to play a role, right? It has been given some situation, very important learning as far as the management people are concerned. I don't know about science and technology, but you can relate according to the field in which you are. But in management, it's a social science. So any of the field, if I'm representing like a business entrepreneur, management, marketing, finance or HR, so in any field I have to play a role. So I will make a situation live and make the students to understand about the facts about the situation which is going on, and student will observe the behavior of the people while playing their roles by consideration of the different situations which have been already given to them in one in advance. So people will observe the behavior of the people or particular party while they are putting themselves into particular situation, or this situation might be a stressful situation or might be a happy situation, right? So people will notice the different kinds of behavior for different kinds of people in different conditions, right? So people will come to know what should be the act or what should be the behavior of the people in a risk free position, right, while giving a hypothetical situation. So this kind of methods of experimental will help the students to understand the different concerns of the people and the topic values that all peoples are carrying, with the consideration of their geographical locations and the position that they are holding in terms of the corporate values, and with that consideration how they are perceiving customers or people into the market. So role playing is a very important parameters as a part of experimental that you will come to know about the real time situations. Model building. So it involves the creations of model with the help of the kits or from a given material. So basically, it is more applicable in terms of technology, science, or chemical area or life science industry, where you have the various tools to build a construct a model, right? So it's a live practical things. Or if you are in real estate or you are in what sort of area where you learn about to make a drawing about the construction of the building. So this kind of tools are going to be used, and this kind of tools we have also seen by the inquiry agencies or CID like CBIs kind of things. So this is a model building to build, to have the connections of the different parameters, or to build the relationship among the different prospects, right? So this kind of methods is going to be useful. So this kind of method will try to understand the relationship of each parameters with others, right? So it creates a relationship among each other. Surveys, nothing new for us, right? Are you agree or not? Whether you want this particular things or not, we are conducting a survey in the market, right? So it helps to understand the real time situations by considering the feedback from the people, right? So this is very important to understand the mindset or what peoples are perceiving or what peoples are feeling in this particular scenario, right? So surveys is going to be useful for all of us, right? So this is from my sides. So the stage is open for the audience if you have any questions as far as the experimental learnings, and I hope I have fulfilled the objective for the today's session. And I hope you might have learned and few methods, but many of the methods also. But I hope I have served the purpose of the today's session. So the session is open for you. If you have any sort of queries, so you can ask me.
Hello, sir. Can I ask one question?
Yeah, please, madam.
Sir, I'm from management department, and if I want to conduct any experiential learning for almost 120 to 150 students in 50 minutes of time, so what can be so to which method should I go for? Because role play it's very difficult, and so can we go for case study? So can
Case
you
study
please?
again, it will cover into theoretical aspects, but still I remember one thing when I was in MBA. So our HR professor usually what they do is they always teach us the things of because you must aware that uh, I personally believe that HR concept is very difficult to digest in a sitting in 1 hour class, because I am basically from finance, so I believe in practical scenario. But still, he was having an ability to make our classes more interesting, and I can concentrate at least in this class to 30-40 minutes. But what he was doing it, he was carrying out the props. I have seen that he was making efforts to make his class more concrete, like he has having all the props. So he was teaching all the simulation efforts, Maslow's theory. So he was coming out with the new props. Even he has given one assignment to us that you should go into the field and observe the behavior of the people, right? So human behavior we have learned through the experiment of the live market. So see, students, if you have the theoretical aspect and if you want to make our students to enjoy more and have a more learning, right, with fruitful effort, so we always allow the students to go outside the classroom, right? That is the most important parameters of experimental learning, or make them forced to do the things by their own. So that will enhance their learning by going with the process, and they will have more experience for their coming future, right? Because to understand the process is very important, right? Because our first slide was saying, if I'll do, I will never forget.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Participants, if you have any queries, please go ahead.
Yes, Bhumika madam, you can.
Yeah, sir. Good evening, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session. As you said, you are from finance, even I am from finance. So I just want to know, can you give us some examples, like for the subject like financial management, which method is more appropriate to use? Like,
See, for finance, madam, you can suggest a few websites for the students, to undergo, to understand the market. Right now, finance, we have three fields, right? If you go with fundamental things, if you go with technical things, and if you go with behavioral things, right?
okay,
So we
okay,
have three students. So if you want to go for fundamental, so give the students to the, from some financial results of the company, and let them force to understand what could be the future outcomes of this industry with the analysis of 5 year scenario. So more often we are doing in our PhD or thesis, or research paper.
yeah,
But
evaluation.
apart from that, if you want to learn, so make the arrangement for the students to have, some stock market trading games, some suggest some websites which provide such kind of facilities, where students can apply their mind, understand the situations of stock market, and have a meaningful insight how to trade on the stock market. So once they are going with the process, they will know, but only theory will not serve purpose, that I will sure in finance, right?
Yeah,
Only not going to serve the purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
because they have to understand the practical application, because we
Yeah.
know that practically it is totally it is different. It is way apart. Like what you are understand
Or even
learning theoretically and what you are doing practically.
force them to sit on the portal also with some, financial or broking agencies,
Okay,
right? So if they are going for internship, so force them to go for the internship into those area where they can have the live practical portal experience.
okay, okay, sir. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sumati madam. Yeah.
Good evening, all. Good evening, sir. That was a very well structured talk. I was just wondering, um, is there a difference between experiential learning and experimental learning?
Uh not much different, but experiment and experimental. So experience means it's a real time situation that we are facing, and based on that we are taking the learnings and outcomes. And experiment means we are going with the hypothetical situations where we know that we are going to make a try and an error, and out of that we are gaining this knowledge. So this is
Okay.
the basic difference. Yeah.
If I may share what I know, and I do a little bit of work on pedagogy. So, especially in early education, right? There's a lot of research that's being done on experiential learning, and there are
Okay.
many schools around the country, as well as abroad, that work especially on experiential pedagogy, which means even using body to teach children. So, say for example, you're teaching them geometry, and you're teaching them how to understand angles. Okay,
Okay.
so standing upright would be a 90-degree. And then so there are many exercises that they develop um, by their own experience to experience, say, something like a 45-degree angle. Something as simple as that, right?
Yeah,
So
this is considered to be an examples. Yeah.
So experiential, meaning to use, you were talking about kinesthetic sense and auditory sense and all that. So experience is also to experience the knowledge that you're learning through your senses. And experimental, as you said, would be to use hypothesis and other things. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Any other questions? So I hope with the consultation of me and Sumati,
You,
you understand the difference of experiment and experience, right? Experiment give you experience. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Sneha madam, please.
Good evening, sir. Sir, actually, I wanted to ask you, like, for the theoretical subjects like organizational behavior in management, which is a generalized concept. So, how can we take the practical part in that? I mean,
I told you,
how
no,
can we?
organizational behavior. My session, I already told you that I want to understand the behavior of people. Then I have to go to the market, and I have to observe the situations of the people in different scenario, right? So it will reflect, right? Even if you are undergo with the Maslow theories, right? The dog theory, right? So every time, the food has been not given to the dogs, right? But when food has been given, dog was not turn it out. मुझे ज़्यादा नहीं पता है, but something was the theory like this. So जब
Yes, sir.
real time situation आता है, तो people will also not turn up because they perceived something out of their own experience, right? So sometimes, apart from the experience, sometimes the situations that has been come out in our life, so which is not in our hand. Yes, Paulo theory. Thank you, sir. So kind of thing, no? Because I'm not from HR, but I have heard something about it. Yeah, right. So
All
Paulo
right.
theory, the dog
Yeah, that's
theory.
Pavlov's theory of
Yeah.
reinforcement. That's a
Yes,
psychological theory, actually.
psychological behavior, right?
All right, sir.
Any other questions? But I think I'm very happy that we have very insightful discussion with all the audience, and this has never happened with me in the previous sessions. But yes, even I came to know many good things from you. So again, it serves the purpose of experimental learning, right? It's not a one-way traffic. We are going in two ways, and thanks to all of you for your patient listening and having an active participations for the theory that we have delivered. So thank you so much. Any other questions? So if you have it, then I'll, or else I ask to Neha madam to conclude.
Excuse me, sir. Shall I ask one more question,
Yeah,
please?
please, madam. Yeah.
Sir, actually, I have one confusion in many of the websites. When I was searching for experiential learning, because this is a new concept which has been introduced in many of the colleges. So, can we take any of the puzzles or crosswords as an experiential learning activity?
Yeah, definitely. It's a part of gameplay, no, that we have already covered. So if you give any puzzles, based on the topic that you want to cover in, but make sure that whatever props that you are carrying with the students, that should be cover up the purpose of the theory that you want to conclude.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? So I think it's done, madam. Neha madam. So over
Yes,
to
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. So it's time to conclude today's session. But before that, I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to each participant for your active engagement, enthusiasm, and invaluable contribution. A special note of gratitude is extended to our respected speaker, Dr. Kunal sir, for graciously sharing his knowledge with us. A sincere thank you also extends to the organizing committee and sponsors whose support has made this program possible. With